When you're recording. Okay, good evening and welcome to. Okay, good evening and welcome to tonight's Monroe City Council meeting. This is the regular business meeting for Tuesday, April 26th. Time right now is 7 p.m. And like Jody, will you please follow the roll? Sorry, Jody.
Council members present and establishing the quorum are council members Fulcher, King, Davis, Fisher, and Scarborough.
All right, thank you. And we'll announce for the record as other people come in. Did anybody note for the record that they did not be here this evening? Sounds good. Councilmember Fulcher, will you please lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And council members, this evening, please remember to be close to your microphones when it comes time to talk. Staff and I position the microphones so they'll be right there in front of you. And if you're leaning backwards or something like that, we're not going to be able to pick you up for the recording. Please let the record show that Councilmember Gamble entered chambers at 7:02. Good evening, Councilmember. We're now moving into public comments. This is a time set aside for members of the public to speak to the City Council on any issue related to the city of Monroe, except any quasi-judicial matter that is subject to a public hearing. 3 minutes are afforded to each speaker. If you would like to speak this evening, please approach the podium now. Nobody approaching the podium. If you are online and would like to address the council this evening, please go ahead and raise your hand in the virtual environment using the little hand signal in Zoom, or hit *9 if you're on the phone. Please do that now. All right, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That item is final action 5.1. This is ordinance number 011-2022, enacting biennial budget. We're going to go to Becky Hassard, our finance director. Becky. Apparently you're late. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the agenda item is in your packet. It's pretty much the same information that was in there from the study session as well as the last business meeting, with the exception of some additional information that was requested by Councilmember Gamble. Greg Peeland, our finance manager, was the one who compiled that information for me, so I thought I would go ahead and let him present that tonight. Mr. Mayor, I turn that to you.
Thank you. And before we proceed with Greg, just please let the record show that Councilmember Hanford entered chambers at 7:03. Good evening, Councilmember Hanford. All right, Greg, go ahead. And yes, thank you. And for the record, your mic, Carol is.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So just wanted to highlight a couple of items for you in the matrix that's included in the agenda bill this evening. What we did was we checked all of the biennial budget cities that we looked at on April 5th, and we also identified all of the annual budget cities in Snohomish County. And we provided a matrix looking first at the audit findings that we could find for the previous 5 years. I do want to let you know that in the previous 5 years, we did not find any audit findings for any of the annual or the biennial budget cities that had anything having to do with the budget process or doing the budget preparation. The other thing that we looked at was the financial strength of those cities as well, both annual and biennial budget cities. We looked at the general fund strength, and we looked at the financial intelligence tool as provided by the state auditor's office. And on there, they look at a 5-year forecast of the revenues for the general fund and the cash balances that are available. They also do a benchmark against the state auditor's office benchmark that they have for the FIT tool itself. And from there, they rate the different cities for the general fund, either good, cautionary, or concerning. And so on the first page of that matrix, you'll see some different statistics, not only on the average of audit findings, but also on the average of the general fund outlook for those cities, both on the annual and the biennial side. So with that, that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Greg. And please let the record show that Councilmember Davis has joined us remotely. Good evening, Councilmember Davis, and we noticed him at 7:04 p.m. Okay, Councilmembers, do you have any questions or a motion? Councilmember Gamble, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure, because I missed the attachment. Now I explained the day in there when I was looking earlier. For so the biennial budget, 50 cities, the audit findings 42, average 0.84. General fund outlook good, 35 cautionary. So you had a third of it was cautionary or concerning that were under the biannual budget. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And the average of the annual budget was, the audit findings 12.92. What's our, let's see. So this was just audit findings only. Where would you make comment about general fund? Let's see, that's still audit findings only.
If you look on the first page of that matrix too, there is some information, but if you want to look directly at the city of Monroe's, that's on the third page.
Yeah,
of the
more
matrix.
just the third page of what matrix?
Is there a page number on that one?
It's page 15 of the packet.
Okay. Of the breakout here.
Mhm.
Kind of only got an 11.
So the city of Monroe is in a good position as far as the general fund outlook goes, which is where we want to be. We did have one finding back in 2017 that had to do with the Scrivener's error for a reimbursement request that actually we found and pointed out to the auditor. But that's been the only finding up until this last year with regards to the CARES Act that I am aware of in the last 5 years.
Trying to find you're saying page 15. I only have.
I believe it's on page 10 and 11 of the actual agenda.
Okay, that would make sense.
Comparison at the bottom of page 10 and comparison at the bottom. of page
That would
10.
explain why I couldn't find page 15.
Oh, see, mine's a 15 on
While you're looking that up, I do want to note for the record that Councilmember Davis was indeed here at 7 p.m. I missed the name. Councilmember Davis, I missed your name that was read in, so I'm sorry about that.
I guess what I was, I don't see kind of a similar breakdown of general budget and health is what I'm missing here. You said it was on page 10.
It's the two attachments that Councilmember Gamble was looking at. A lot of two attachments in
Good, 62. I've got it here. Let's see. We just don't have as many on the biannual as what I.
Councilmembers, I understand that we've put the section of the manual. But
Yeah, specifically what I was looking at was those charts on the bottom, but I don't, it's to compare the data against the two, because my general question back when I was asking for the data is, hey, moving along around the standpoint of, is this a better discipline from the standpoint of, fiscal oversight and, top of things. But I'm only seeing, we've got, we've close to 50 on the biennial that we're showing, and then we only have 13. Right? On the annual that we're comparing, but we don't have what's there, and that's just the general fund. We don't have, the fiscal policy. We said that was hard to find on what's the reserve for the five, that type of stuff.
And I think the thought behind that too was if we were going to look at the reserves and kind of look at that full picture, it would probably include looking at everybody's budget itself and kind of digging back into their prior history. And so the time that I thought that it would take for the 50 biennial budget cities, and then we looked at just Snohomish County annual budgets, that's where we kind of made that pivot and decided to look at the FIT tool itself that's provided by the state auditor's office, thinking that would provide us a good outlook on at least the general fund, but maybe not that full extent of what you were talking about too.
Which is great. I guess the other piece I don't understand is that the comparison we're doing for the annual budget, we only have cities in Snohomish County in the biennial budget. So we're compared to what I'm looking at is, okay, well, you got 30% of those that are on the biennial budget and 15 of them that are in cautionary or concerning, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have a statistically valid sample to compare it against on the annual side, nor is geographically located. So I don't know what that does for me to try to make that, it changed my mind for sure.
Yeah.
Right. But for any of us, to be honest with you, to make this really kind of stroke of the pen that makes sense with this practice. It is producing a bit more strong because my concerns have been voiced previously. There's no knock on Vince Haster or anybody in the finance department at all. Have got an extreme amount of respect for the work that she does. My position has always been, I don't think a biannual process for council, the governing body, is the best vehicle from the standpoint of being able to, from a flexibility perspective, financial oversight. I think it actually has benefited this city in particular that's made it through the great reset, whatever you want to call it, all the different economic stuff that we ran up against. And part of our success has been the frequency of an annual budgeting process. And so I was looking for stuff to change my mind, to change my mind. As people have been around me a long time know, sitting up here, but I just don't see anything on the data here that would show me that, hey, this is a good decision. We've actually, the data we have looked at, we were on a biannual budget before. Yes, it was. We were early adopters. We were on it, and we moved away from it. So there's just, especially in where we're at right now, economic times, all just across the board, a lot of volatile stuff in play, and I just don't think it would be the responsible decision to put us on that path. So I don't see anything here to change my position, but I know I'm in the minority, so just speak my piece and let other council members comment.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Gamble. Councilmember Coulter.
I was going to go ahead and make a motion if there's no more discussion. I'm going to make a motion, sir. I move to adopt the ordinance number 0112022, an ordinance of the city of Monroe, Washington, establishing a biennial budget process effective January 1, 2023, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Second, Davis.
I have a motion from Councilmember Coulter, a second from Councilmember Davis, with the requested action in this agenda bill. Councilmember Coulter, did you have anything further since you made the motion?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sarver, go ahead.
I'm gonna vote with Councilman Gamble on this because I love the fact that you do a wonderful job. And I'm not casting any aspersions on what you do or don't do. My problem is, I don't think I understand well enough to make an informed decision to change from what we're doing to something else. So I'll be voting with Councilman Gamble on this.
Thank you. Any other questions from, any other discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we will move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Will the people voting opposed, please raise your hand? Okay, and I heard you. Thank you. I couldn't tell if there's a third person down there. Thank you, Councilman Scarborough. Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 5-2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda then is the consent agenda. Council members? Councilmember Scarborough.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Councilmember Scarborough, do I understand that is moved to approve the consent agenda? And Councilmember Kenny? Thank you. All right, so we have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second, so it's Councilmember Scarborough, second from Councilmember Kenny. Any discussion on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business. First one is new business item 7.1. This is the 2023-2024 budget development calendar with our finance director, Becky Hasser. Becky, go ahead.
Once I click your button on, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we didn't want to presume and put this on the consent agenda like we usually do each year, depending on what the vote was going to be for the biennial budget. But now that the biennial budget has been passed, this calendar does represent the expected timeline for the development of that biennial budget. You will notice some major milestones on there. June 10th, I believe, is when we will start the process and send out call to all the departments to start thinking about their requests for the next 2 years. We are still planning to have a balanced mayor's proposed budget to the council by the end of September, which is a full month before it's actually required, so that it gives you guys additional time to digest it. Most processes will be the same as what you are used to seeing in prior years. We plan the public hearings as well as the budget workshops during October, with ideally then a early adoption in November, on November 15th. If all goes well, then for the second year, we would be starting the amendment process or the adjustment process for the second fiscal year during October of 2023. It should be an easier or lighter lift than doing a full budget, so that again, we should have you done with that process sometime in November of that year. The reason that we bring the calendar to you for adoption by the council is so that we can then publicly publish the calendar, so that those that may be interested will know when they have opportunity to make input on requests for the calendar for the budgets. This will be published on the website as well once, or if it is accepted by council this evening. So, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Councilman Hanford, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the 2023-2024 budget development calendar.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hanford, a second from Councilmember Fulcher for the requested action in new business item number 7.1. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, there being none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 7.2. This is confirmation of appointment to Park Board position number 6. And I will refer to our clerk of the city, Jody Wyckoff. Jody, go ahead. After a quick minute.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you tonight is the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Mariana, Navina, to the Park Board position number 6, which expired in 2025. As you may recall, council approved ordinance 007-2022 in March to amend the park board chapter of the municipal code to allow for 2 more at-large members. And so this appointment would fill one of those vacancies. Since this packet went out, we actually had one standing park board member resign. So we still have 2 vacancies at this point.
All right, thank you, Jody. Any questions or motions? Councilmember Hanford?
Thank you, Mayor. Like usual, I'd like to just query to find out if anyone knows Mariana and Miss Medina.
Yes, I interviewed her, and I do know her, yes.
Great.
Anything further, Councilmember Hanford?
Thank-
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kenny, go ahead.
I was wondering if Ms. Wykoff could tell me which park board member has recently resigned?
Go ahead.
I'm afraid you were going to ask that. Oh, gosh. I cannot recall off the top of my head. If you give me 1 second, I can tell you. Just have to open up my roster really quick.
I also just wanted to thank the mayor and staff for expanding the opportunity for more people to serve on the Parks Board. This was a change from the time I served, and it's a great change. It allows more people from different lived experiences and interests to serve on the Park Board.
It was Daniel Enrico, I think I'm trying to say his name.
Thank you. Yep.
And to Councilmember Kenny, I can tell you for approving it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kenny, did you have anything further? You still have a report?
I am ready to make a motion. I move to confirm mayor's appointment of Mariana Medina to Park Board Position 6, a vacant term expiring 12/31/2025.
Hanford, second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Kenny, second from Councilmember Hanford for the requested action in new business item number 7.2. As shown on the screen, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That would be item 7.3, authorize a new pay range classification for community development planner. Mr. Worthen, Ben Worthen, our HR director, will be presenting, and IT. Ben, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight before you is this establishing a new pay range for a position in community development. We currently are slotted for 2 senior planners and an associate planner. In conversation with Lance Bailey, we want to switch that to an associate, a planner, and a senior planner. And I'll, of course, take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions or a motion? Councilmember Coulter, go ahead.
I move to amend the city's adopted salary schedule ordinance number 0112021 Exhibit A to authorize a new pay range classification and job description for community development planner.
Can you second?
I have a motion from Councilmember Fulcher, a second from Councilmember Kenny for the requested action on new business item number 7.3. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is item 7.4, new business. This is proposed ordinance number 012-2022 related to Juneteenth. And this will go to also to Mr. Worthen, to Ben Worthen, our HR director. Ben, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening again, Council. As Mayor introduced, this is an ordinance that will establish Juneteenth as a holiday to close City Hall and to pay the employees for the holiday. Keep in mind, we already have this language in both the guild contract and the sergeant's recent MOU. So, and on advice of Mr. Lell, we are establishing this as an ordinance, and it's not something that I do all the time. So, take any questions.
All right, thank you. Council members, are there any questions or a motion? Councilmember Hanford, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion, but the second, the bullet is highlighted, so I need to read that also.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware, so I was highlighting it.
That's fine. I didn't want to go correctly. I move to accept the first reading ordinance number 012-2022. An ordinance of the city of Monroe, Washington, establishing June 19th of each year, Juneteenth as a paid holiday for city of Monroe employees eligible for leave benefits, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Hanford, a second from Councilmember Gamble for the requested action in new business item number 7.4. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7.7. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. This would be new business item number 7.5. Connor notice of intention to commence annexation. And we have our planner from the Community Development Department, Amy Bright. Good evening, Amy. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Before you tonight is an informational update regarding the proposed Connor annexation. City Council might recall that you recently approved the pre-annexation zoning for this property back in February, which is described in the agenda bill. Next slide, Jody. I prepared a rough timeline of events for this annexation just so that you can understand the process. So you can see the first item is the pre-annexation ordinance was adopted in February. And then since then, an initial petition was submitted in March. So now that the city's received an initial petition from the landowner, the next step in the process is for the city to schedule a meeting with the landowner. At that meeting, the city council will consider whether to accept, reject, or geographically modify the area that's been proposed for the annexation, as well as determine if there's any conditions to be imposed on the annexation. City staff's recommending that the meeting will be scheduled for May 10th. This initial meeting is just a meeting that allows the proposal to move forward for initial consideration. It's not binding. After that, the next item, if the city council allows the proposal to move forward after that meeting, it will vote to authorize the circulation of a formal annexation petition by the landowner. That's called the 60% petition. Then if a formal petition is received by the city with those required signatures, the city will proceed to schedule a public hearing. And then city council at the conclusion of the hearing could adopt an ordinance affecting that annexation. So this is just a tentative schedule, just so you can see a timeline of the events. So again, staff is just looking for a confirmation tonight that council is agreeable that May 10th is the date that will be the initial meeting date for the landowner.
All right. Thank you very much, Amy. Any discussion? Any questions from council or motion? Councilmember Fulcher, go ahead.
I move to set the annexation meeting for the Connor annexation for May 10th, 2022.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fulcher, a second from Councilmember Scarborough for the requested action in agenda bill item new business 7.5 as shown on the screen. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Amy. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and that item would be Councilmember reports. Councilmember Scarborough. Thank you. Councilmember Fisher. Thank you. Councilmember Hanford.
Yes, love to see the sign going the roundabout. They were still working on it and over here. And had my first walk around the lake on a sunny day around here in a long time. And it was great to see the park popping and the park officials there covering people. Very nice to see the community on the pallet. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Kendrick.
Nothing to report.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Fulcher.
I have to agree with Councilmember Hanford. I've been walking around the lake every day for a couple of weeks now, and it was nice to actually get the sun. Exactly, it's good. I want to thank the chief and also our fire chief, who's not with us tonight, for having a really great coffee with the chiefs last Wednesday morning. It was great to see the community get out, and everyone, loves to see the guys. So thank you, sir. And that is all.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to Councilmember Davis, Councilmember Fisher, I'm sorry, did I call on you?
Yes, you did. I had another report.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Davis, go ahead.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Gamble, go ahead. All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. That would be staff and department reports. The first one is Finance Department 2022 report with our Finance Director, Becky Hassert. Becky, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the finance report is in your packet. It covers the first quarter of the year, so you will find some analysis in there. As with prior years, there are a couple of departments that do look like they're exceeding their straight line trending. However, we do have a number of bills that we pay at the beginning of the year. So as the year plays out, that will smooth out accordingly. We are working on the budget amendment for the year where we true up beginning fund balances. We have a few bills that carried over from 2021 that will address, that will be presented to the Finance Committee at its next meeting here in May. So that should be an interesting meeting. But overall, we are in a pretty good position, which is a nice place to be. So definitely coming out of COVID as we had planned. So that's also a feel good. You will also notice that there is a new report in the packet. This came out as this was a brainchild of mine that I had from last week's or the last Finance Committee meeting where we were talking about the economic development report, and Mr. Gamble had asked about or had expressed curiosity about how certain segments within our company was doing, specifically the restaurant industry. So I put together this report that I hope gets to some of what he was looking for. It has to do with the national codes, commercial codes 72, which includes hospitality as well. However, our number of hotels did not change over the last few years. We still have the same number of hotels. So I think in a way that's kind of a little bit of a net, no new hotel rooms, in other words. But when you look at the trending, not only year over year for each month, but then in the aggregate for the year, we actually, outside of the COVID year of 2020, we show growth every year. So that tells us that while there may be individual restaurants that may not be faring as well as an industry here in Monroe, we are growing, and that is a good thing. People, and especially when you look at the first 3 months of 2022, and remember, sales taxes are on a 2-month lag when we get the money, but that kind of tells me that people are going back out and they're starting to go out and socialize again. They're spending money in our restaurants. If anything, what may slow us down is just the lack of space for new restaurants. So it was heartening to see this when I put this together. This is going to be a regular report that I'm going to continue to include every month with the finance report for you guys. And if there are other industries that you are interested in, please let me know. With that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Becky. Any questions for Becky? All right, seeing none, again, very much appreciate that. Thank you. Next person that we have reporting this evening is our Community Development Director, Lance Bailey, who we will move forward right now for the Community Development March 2022 report. Okay, Mr. Bailey, you're in the panel.
Sorry for the delay. It took a little while for that one to take. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the report this evening, there's a few things that I wanted to point out. One of them is, in general, we've been very busy in the department. We've got a lot of projects that are coming online, and a fair number that are in the process of being finished or sort of in the middle of the process. The project highlight in the report for this week is the Foxborough project, which is a 18-unit townhouse project that's located right on Main Street. You may have seen, they've started some of the site work on it, and I believe that they're expecting to pour some foundations here soon. And it's generally located across from where the existing Sunnyside project is. So it's a 6-structure triplex. So it'll be 18 townhomes in total. So they're getting ready to start in earnest on that soon. We did 190 inspections in March, and I do want to point out, as far on code enforcement, we hopefully starting next month, we're going to try to break out some of the cases to give you an idea of exactly what kind of cases that we're working on as far as code enforcement is concerned. One other thing that I wanted to point out, sort of in the general section for the preliminary plats and final plat and engineering review, is that we currently have across the project spectrum 224 lots that will eventually be coming online in the city. They're in a variety of stages now between the preliminary plat, final plat, and others that are in engineering review. So I expect that we will be getting a steady stream of building permits that will be following once those lots come online. And moving down to the end of the report that we've added, I wanted to give the council an update on 2 UGA, which are urban growth area expansions, that are currently in process with the county. And if you go down to the very end of the report. So these are 2 UGA expansions that are on the work program for the county. And that work program, as far as the timing is concerned, is they do the UGA expansions as a part of the comprehensive plan update. So there won't be a final decision on these to come out until 2024 at the very earliest. But I wanted to give you an update that these are 2 that are currently getting ready to in the early stages of the process. And the first one is an expansion that's it's on the west side of the existing city limits or city urban growth area, and just north of Highway 2. And it's a 68-acre proposal that was initiated by the county council. There's really 2 ways that UGA expansions get onto the work plan for the county. One is for county council initiated, and then the other is our UGA expansions that are what they call docketed, which are initiated by property owners. And on the map in the department update, that it's the sort of crosshatch and starred area on the west side of the city limits. The other expansion, which is referred to as the Davis Johnson expansion, which was a docketed item, so it was submitted by the property owner. It's a smaller expansion that would constitute 22 acres, and it's on the north side of the city. And on the map in the report, it's that crosshatch area. So the county is really just at the first step of their analysis. They'll go through their SEPA alternatives, and there's a whole number of UGA expansions, and the Monroe 2 are just 2 of many that the county is looking at. And as I said, they'll be considering these as a part of their comprehensive plan update. And the county will have, the city will have an opportunity to comment on this. And if any issues come up, we'll certainly be updating the council on that. So if I don't have any questions, that's all I have for the report.
All right, thank you very much, Lance. Does anybody have any questions for Lance, our Director of Community Development? All right, I don't see any. Thank you again, Lance. Go ahead, Deborah. Oh. You're quick on that, but that's great. So the next item on the agenda then is item 9.3, Human Services, March 2022 work report from our city administrator, Deborah Knight. Deborah?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the update for Human Services this month is the Community Human Services Advisory Board received an update from Take the Next Step on the services that they're currently providing to the Monroe community. And if you haven't heard, Take the Next Step has been now formally designated as a family resource center. So that is a big deal for our community, and we are happy that they have received that designation. They also provided an update to the board on the $98,000 that they received in city art funding, and they are currently using that for 3 programs, business startup support, laundry vouchers, and then to support their overall operations. The board also received an update from Snohomish County on the proposed House Bill 1590 business plan. This is the business plan that proposes to implement the sales tax for affordable housing and wraparound services for mental health. And the Community Human Service Advisory Board members weighed in and provided some feedback to council, which you incorporated into a letter that was then shared with Snohomish County. And we are continuing to participate. Councilmember Fulcher is currently serving on that board, the HART board, and we are working to provide further comments around that House Bill 1590 business plan. The last item I have is that the city, along with our partners at Sultan, Volunteers of America, and the Fire District, were awarded $125,000 from Snohomish County to work on a mobile mental health service. So that, again, is in partnership with Sultan, Volunteers of America, and our Fire District. And we are currently coordinating a meeting to get together to begin to implement those services. So that's also exciting for our community as well. And that's it for our Human Services report for this evening.
All right, any questions for Deborah? Go ahead, Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell me more about the Human Services calendar for the month.
Yes.
Of March. And I was wondering if you could tell me more about, maybe that's the chief, but the MPD outreach team, what that entails, and then also the Voa Showers, what that looks like.
I can share information about the Voa Showers. So up at the city of Sultan, where Voa has their primary facility, they are opening up that facility to allow individuals to come in and take showers during certain hours of the day. That used to be a service that was provided through the YMCA, and during the pandemic shutdown, the YMCA discontinued offering those services, and Volunteers of America graciously stepped up to take on that work. Yep. And I think, Chief, I can start by answering the MPD outreach. I think that's when our embedded social worker, Elise Delgado, is present at the city of Monroe and does her outreach with Officer Pettit and the rest of the team.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Deborah? Or for Chief? All right. Seeing that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. We are now under item 10, Mayor and Administrative Reports. We'll start out with the report on the extended agenda from our City Administrator, Deborah Knight. Deborah.
Great. So we are canceling the Public Safety Committee meeting that is normally scheduled for the first Tuesday of the month. So that would be May 3rd. We do have a regular study session for that evening, and we'll be getting a legislative update from Representative Carolyn Eslick and Senator Wagoner and our lobbyist Trevor Justin. And then we will have a discussion on Title 12 updates from our Public Works Director, Jacob Roberts. Looking forward then into May 10th, we will have a Legislative Affairs Committee meeting, and we will be reviewing the rules of procedure. That's continued work with our City Clerk, Jody Wyckoff. And then Title IV amendments, that's the section that is for our boards, commissions, and committees. For the regular business meeting for that evening on the consent agenda, we will be having second reading of the ordinance establishing Juneteenth as a holiday. Under new business, we'll have a fee resolution update from our finance director, Becky Hasser, and an ordinance to amend the municipal code for our stormwater plan from our public works director, Jacob Roberts. And then finally, confirmation of salary commission appointments with clerk Jody Blackoff. And that's it for my extended agenda update.
All right, thank you very much, Deborah. Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sitting out a little bit farther to June 7th. I will be out of town. I'm going to be able to attend council meeting back then.
Thank you very much. Anything further from council members? All right, there being nothing further, we'll go on to the next item, which is 10.2, city administrator report. Deborah.
Thank you. Just a reminder to council, we talked about it a couple of times, but it's finally getting on to the city administrator's report, which is May 24th. Instead of having a Q3 committee meeting that evening, that's when we will have our transportation benefit district meeting. And the start time on that is 6 p.m. So if you haven't already added that to your calendar, we will have continued reminders up until May 24th.
All right.
I'm also pleased to announce, and I apologize if I'm stealing any thunder from our Public Works Director, Jacob Roberts, but our interim city engineer, Scott Peterson, has been appointed to a full-time position as our city engineer. And I just want to say that I think Scott has done a remarkable job at stepping into that role and has come a long ways. And it is great to have him now in that position full-time. So really pleased that you've joined the team in that role. If you haven't heard, Cleanup Day has been canceled. We received notice from Republic Services. There are a couple of different things that are working against Cleanup Day on May 21st. Part of that is that there was an event that was scheduled at that same time at the fairgrounds that is in conflict with Cleanup Day. And then in addition to that, apparently, overall, there is difficulty now getting railroad containers to actually haul garbage to the landfill. So there's a shortage of those actual containers. So it's just more of kind of the supply chain issues that we've continued to deal with. It's been difficult to take on additional garbage at this time. So we are working with Republic Service to get the word out to our community members, and we will let the council know when that gets rescheduled. We're trying to get it in before summer really starts and people leave to go out of town and won't be available to bring their material in. If not, then it'll have to be postponed until the fall. And we're continuing to work with Republic Services to kind of change the way Cleanup Day is done overall, rather than having people have to bring in their material. It would be picked up at curbside. It's a program that Republic Services currently provides to the city of Renton and other cities on the east side. And we're looking to copy that as well. So we're continuing to negotiate with them for that service.
Yeah, Councilmember Gamble just never means that that's what it used to be before. I haven't used that service since we needed to get a truck. So I used to enjoy it when I come by. I guess it was a city that did that, and it would be nice to go back. So thank you.
Yep. And the last item, Councilmember Hanford already mentioned, but I feel like I need to just drive around and around the roundabout so I can see the gateway sign being installed. I feel like that Chevy Chase movie, European vacation. There's Big Ben. It'd be like, look, friends, there's the gateway sign. Yeah, I understand it's large enough to be seen from outer space.
All right.
That's it. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Deborah? All right. Thank you. So a couple reports for me under the mayor's report. The first thing, tomorrow is Administrative Professionals Day. And as I said in the State of the City update from a couple of weeks ago to the Chamber of Commerce, we are nothing as a community. People who run businesses are nothing without the work of the people that support them. And our administrative professionals would include, among other people who are just here in the room, would be Deborah, would include Jody, it would include Sherry, it would include any number of people, Rich and Tyler. There are people that aren't in departments in the same way as other people, but there are also people in those departments that support some of the other folks. And The work that they do is incredibly important to making certain that our community is a success, that I'm a success, and that the council's a success. So tomorrow, just please, if you see an administrative professional out there, just take a moment to thank them for the work that they do. And thank them for helping to make us successful in your jobs and as council members or anything else that you do. So thank you. Go ahead, Kevin. Councilmember Hanford.
Thank you, Mayor. I just will take this opportunity to echo what you just said. I am so proud to be able to represent our city with the team that we have at City Hall. You guys just shine, and so I'm very thankful for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to add, because I know that I shared this with the HR committee when we were talking about something about retention and recruitment. And one of the things that I shared with the committee, I don't know that I shared with the full body of the council, is that it is because of the relationship among staff, mayor, and council that a lot of people come here, including some people that have come back that had left previously. And so I just want to share my appreciation to each and every one of you for the work that you do also in that. But so I want to share that with you. So while I'm thinking about it, go ahead, Councilmember Kinney.
I also wanted to say thank you as a new council member. Every member of staff has been incredibly welcoming, patient, including members of the council up here that have been very welcoming, but it's just been a wonderful, smooth transition. And I want to thank all of you for making it so easy and delightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, the next item that I have to share is Arbor Day. So I will be I will be planting a tree. No, I won't be. A bunch of us staff will be digging a really big hole, putting it in the hole, and then a few of us are gonna, with kids, are gonna stick some dirt in the hole. If you'd like to come out for Arbor Day to do that, it's a lot of fun. There's an elementary school class that will come out with us. I have extended the invitation also to our school board president and the acting superintendent. If you'd like to come out, it's fun. I know that Councilmember Kinney's been out there, Councilmember Fulcher's been out there. I don't know if anybody else has been out there. But just being out there with the kids and getting a shovel full of dirt thrown in the hole, it's fun. And so that'll be at 1:15 Friday this week at Lake High. If you need any information, staff can send that forward to you. It's already been noticed in the event we have a forum, and feel free to come out and join us. The other thing that I'd like to share is that I received a phone call from the county today from somebody in the exec's office, just asking if I had any sort of thoughts on the potentially the Snohomish Health District being folded into or being incorporated into Snohomish County. And so apparently there's some discussion going on later this week about that possibility. What I shared with them is that at least administratively from our perspective, the experience I have there is that usually I get complaints about about the health district not getting some permit that usually a restaurant needs or a food service provider needs. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, well, you need to call your Snohomish County council member and who is a member of a 10 or 15 person board. And it's hard to tell them who to go talk to get that resolved because it's not us. And there isn't one point of contact. What I shared with them is that a lot of people when they hear the Snohomish Health District already think it's part of Snohomish County, which it's not. And that perhaps becoming part of Snohomish County proper would help out by us, if we get a complaint about it being able to go ahead and refer them to the director of the health department at the county instead of this council, not the council, but a board. The process would probably take about 8 months, beginning as early as this week. The executive would have people come out to talk with the council about what it means and everything. And so I just wanted to make you aware of those conversations and what I had shared. I think from a service delivery standpoint, that's the only thing I've stumbled across is trying to explain 3 different bureaucracies, city, the county and the health district and why somebody's not getting a permit. So I would hope that it would improve some of that by us being able to say, contact the health department at the county and have a point of contact with the manager or director to talk to or the executive. So if you have any different thoughts on that, please let me know. But I wanted to share that with you. I think, oh, the already shared that, and I think that's all I have. Do you have anything? Anybody else want to talk? Because we're just before 8 o'clock. There being no objection and there being no further business, we are adjourned. Oh, wait. Zach, did you object?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's certainly not my place to object. My understanding in conversations with Ms. Knight is that there actually was going to be an executive session this evening, potentially followed by council action afterward.
Okay, one moment.
I'm looking like face.
We have one originally scheduled for tonight, and then I was asked by the staff members.
There we go.
So that might be what we're talking about.
Zach, do you have any concern about whatever the issue was that you think we're going to have an exec session being addressed next week? Because I'm understanding that that's what staff has requested, is to move this to next week.
There is technically an April 30th deadline for response on the matter that I'm referring to, Mayor. It's not necessarily a hard and fast deadline as I understand it, but that is the requested deadline. And with that caveat, it's the council's judgment call whether to postpone this matter to the next Tuesday. And I'm happy to dial in on that meeting if that's the council's preference.
Okay, Zach, what we're going to do is we are going to hold an executive session. We're going to first take a 3-minute recess to 8 p.m. so that we can get some things in order, and then we'll come back on the record. So anybody watching the council meeting right now, we are going to, Councilmember Scarborough, go ahead.
Convene before we go into an executive.
We are going to reconvene before we go into executive session, yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to recess for 3 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn off the audio right now. Okay, good evening. And we are back in out of recess. The time right now is 8:01 p.m. We do have a need for an executive session for an initial, I'm going to call it an initial 10 minutes that will start at 8:02 p.m. This is to discuss potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, subsection 1, subsection little I. For council members who have joined us remotely, and for Mr. Well, go ahead and use the link that is in your Outlook appointment for executive sessions. Please note that we are setting up the equipment at this time so that we can do this. So we might be a little bit slower than normal in getting into that meeting. So we are now in executive session. Oh, with potential action to follow. Mr. Well, do you have anything that I missed here? Go ahead, Zach.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, did you indicate the time of the executive session for how many minutes?
Yeah, so beginning at 8:02 p.m., which is now, for an initial 10 minutes.
Great, thank you.
And we will announce any extensions that may be necessary in this current session.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now in executive session.
For the record, this is Jody Wyckoff, City Clerk. The executive session has been extended 2 minutes. For the record, this is Jody Wyckoff, City Clerk. The executive session has been extended an additional 5 minutes. For the record, this is Jody Wyckoff, City Clerk. The executive session has been extended an additional 3 minutes. For the record, this is Jody Wyckoff, City Clerk. The executive session has been extended an additional 2 minutes.
Is Councilmember Davis back in?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason. You all were faster tonight.
All right, we are now out of executive session and back in our regular meeting. Councilmember Gamble, go ahead.
One moment, yeah, Councilmember Gamble, sorry. Go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add the One Washington Memorandum of Understanding between Washington municipalities to the agenda for action.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Gamble, a second from Councilmember Fulcher for the motion to add something to the agenda this evening. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor of the motions, so state.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes 7-0, and item's been added to the agenda. Go ahead, Councilmember Gamble.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the One Washington Memorandum of Understanding between Washington municipalities relating to the settlement of opioid litigation in Washington State.
I have a motion from Councilmember Gamble, second from Councilmember Scarborough for a motion that was just read in. Councilmembers, I'm going to request that council consider amending the motion to add authorize the mayor or mayor pro tem to sign. So my request is to add the mayor or mayor pro tem. Is there somebody that would be willing to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? All right. So the motion has been amended to read at the beginning, authorize the mayor or mayor pro tem to sign the Washington memorandum of understanding. That was moved by Councilmember Gamble. It was seconded by Councilmember Scarborough. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to amend for that. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. We're back now to the main motion. Go ahead. Councilmember Hanford, was that a miss? No. Okay, so we're back to the main motion as amended. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, saying none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. Councilmember Hanford.
I move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilmember Hanford, second from Councilmember Gamble. Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Saying none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We are adjourned.